worth having a conversation about to see if there's somebody who would be willing to be secretary. So Chris, was that part of your conversation with Dante surrounding this? Was with regard to minutes or just,
I think we did have a conversation about it, but I can tell you that I remember what I really remember is us sort of having this conversation a little bit before all that transition, and it seeming like, well, I don't know if you really need a secretary, you know, to capture every little thing, unless when things go in person, like that you might sort of need that more, but you have the recording and so on and so forth. So yeah, I think we were not anticipating some of these changes at the
that's right,
time.
right.
Yeah,
And
so
you're absolutely right. And I forgot that this meeting is now recorded.
It
So,
is.
I mean, I think one of the things that I'm going to try to do with the record of action is remember or kind of have a timestamp with regard to when in the meeting did we start, at what time, so that if anybody wants to go back and listen to that conversation, they at least know where to go rather than listening to a 3-hour recording. And where exactly was that? So I will make a point of doing that. Great, and I'm getting confirmation from the chief that that's what we were going to be doing, so we're going to do it.
Looks like we're still waiting for folks to join.
Yeah, I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I've got 9 people so far on the committee. So out of 18.
Did we get a replacement for Deborah yet?
It looks to be LaShante Smith from West Contra
Oh, okay.
Unified School District. I'm not seeing her on this call though. And yeah, I'm not seeing her here. Do you want to just give it another minute or two, Chris, and then we can start? Let's see, I have 9 out of 18, so do we not have quorum?
I don't think so. I think you need 50% plus 1, which would be 10.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah.
Cheryl just joined.
Oh, great. Okay, we're up to 10. Perfect.
Sorry about that. I'm coming from my appointment.
Well, thank you, Cheryl. We needed you more than we already do. You're our quorum now, so.
Oh, thank you so much.
And it looks like we have Michael Pearson too, so we're in good shape.
Did you all still have the scripts as far as the Zoom protocols and if anybody's calling in? I don't see anybody calling in necessarily, but I know there are Zoom protocols about raising hands and things like that.
Right. I'm not an expert on it, but what I can tell you is that our request would be for everybody to remain muted unless you raise your hand for discussion point. Chris will let you moderate that. I will make you co-host right now if we haven't done that already. And what is it? Is it *2 to raise your hand on? I'm sorry. I don't even want to fake it. Chief, do you want to help me out here?
I was going to say, let me help you out there. I do this all the time.
Please. I think you
In order
have this
to minimize any
memorized.
distractions or outside noise, please mute yourself. There will be general public comment and public comment after each of today's agenda items. If you're on the Zoom platform, you can mute yourself using the icon in the lower left-hand corner. If you're on the phone, please press *6 to mute yourself. You'll also press *6 to unmute yourself when you're called upon by Chris for your comments. And if you are wishing to raise your hand from a telephone, it is *9.
Okay, so are you moonlighting as like an airport announcer or something?
I have to do the virtual housekeeping so often, Chris. I feel bad for people in meetings that I chair because they're probably like, oh gosh, here she goes again. You'll also be taking attendance via roll call, and any votes, you will utilize a roll call system for voting as well.
That is absolutely right.
I don't even need the notes anymore. I used to have a script, and it's all right there now.
Wow.
I would request that you send that script over to me, please.
I sure will.
That was really well done. Well, with that, I guess we can get started. I'm happy to kick it over to one of the co-chairs. Mr. John Loudon is here. Stephanie is not in yet, but she's also co-chair of the RJOB. They generally host meetings. Happy to step in wherever necessary, but not wanting to overstep.
Was that your intro, Chris?
Yep, pretty much.
Oh, okay. All right, everyone. Happy New Year. Welcome to our first quarterly meeting for the year. Can you hear me? Okay, just want to check because sometimes this computer is 50-50. As Chris mentioned, Stephanie should be joining us, but when she does, she'll be a silent partner. I think she's a little under the weather. So, that's what she told me, but we will proceed without her for the time being. So just for our agenda, there are no new announcements that I'm aware of. I'm assuming after this meeting, there will be several or a few because when we left off in 2020, we were in a little bit of transition in regards to seats and subcommittees and who would be leaving us and who would be joining us. So I'm sure announcements will be coming forth with. But we can start off with introductions. I'm John Loudon, current co-chair. I represent the Office of the Sheriff on this oversight body. And we'll just go around. How about Jeff?
Hi, everyone. Thanks. Jeff Landau, Racial Justice Coalition Steering Committee member. Glad to be with you.
Robin?
Hi, Robin Lepetsky, Public Defender.
I'm not sure. I saw William, but I'm not sure. Oh, yeah, there he is. Dr.
Yeah.
Walker. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on Bill Walker representing Health Services.
Diana Beckton.
Good afternoon, Dinah Beckton, District Attorney.
Mr. Michael Pearson.
Michael Pearson, and I am a community member of ARD.
Apollo.
Yeah, my
Could you
name
hear
is
me?
Apollos. Yeah. Hello? Yeah,
Oh,
we heard you, Michael.
Yeah, we heard you. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm Apollo Solse. I'm one of the committee members I'm a pastor at the Bay Church at Concord, Bay Point Concord area.
Bisa?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bisa French. I am the police chief in Richmond, but I represent the county police chiefs.
Cheryl?
Hi, Cheryl Studies, Racial Justice Task Force, union member, and the Immigration Rights Alliance. Thank you.
Thank you. Keisha. Tammy, are you in with us today? Matthew?
Hello, everyone. Matt Malone, Chief Counsel, Contra Costa County Superior Court.
It's Tamia Brown, and I'm with the Alameda County Workforce Development Board. I'm just here to observe today.
Sounds good. Thank you. Let's see. Who am I missing? Lynette? Are you representing Stan?
Lynette Williams. I'm actually with the Public Defender's Office. My program is Stand Together, Contra Costa.
Okay, thank you. Denise, as far as members go, I believe that's all I have so far. Is that correct?
We have the chief as well.
Hi there, Issa Even Kraus, Chief.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
And then, yes, as far as I can tell, John, that we've got all the members.
Okay. All right. Any other introductions? I see Jill on and others. If you want to introduce yourselves while you're here.
Yeah, Jill Ray with Supervisor Candace Anderson's office.
My name is Nicole Popchak. I'm one of the new team members with the ORJ department.
Welcome. All right, I don't see any other people popping on. At this time, we'll go ahead and open it up for public comment for anything, any item that is not necessarily on the agenda, but within the jurisdiction of this body. All right, having no public comment, we'll move on to item number 3, which is our approval of record of actions from our meeting from November 5th, 2020. That was our last quarterly meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review it? And if so, are there any questions in regards to that agenda item?
This is Matt. This is approval of the minutes. I'm sorry.
It'll be correct. It'll be the approval of minutes from November 5th. Attachment 1.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It'll be the agenda that we.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep. Does that make sense? From November. That'll be attachment 1 in this month's agenda. I see no questions. So at this point, we will. We'll vote. But prior to the vote, is there any public comment? Well, Lynn just joined. Thank you. And I don't see any hands. And I'll be honest, I'm not that good at seeing the virtual hands, but I don't see any hands raised at this point. So we'll have a roll call vote.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. Record of actions, rather.
I'll second.
Denise, can you do the roll call? Are you?
Yes, I'd be happy to.
Okay.
Matt Malone.
I don't know if this is proper. I'm sorry. I was trying to follow along here. This still references James Paulson from the court, and that's just all I wanted to deal with was he's no longer with the court, so he wouldn't be absent anymore. And I apologize for waiting until now to do this. I was trying to keep it with the attachments.
Oh, okay, no problem.
Yeah. So I don't know what I should do here.
Okay, we can make an amendment to the record of action for that.
Can I move for that in the middle of what we're doing now? Or do I do that or?
Do we need?
You can do a friendly amendment.
Okay, thank you.
Causing problems, I'm sorry.
So Matt, you are representing James from here forth?
I'm replacing James.
Replacing James, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So he wasn't absent last time. I was there in my capacity
Okay.
as the rep.
I see what you're saying. So we will have a roll call vote with the amended version of Matt representing James. So the office was represented, but we didn't document it correctly. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think I'm in the attendees. He's not. Yeah, just strike him from absent.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Any other comments or questions before the vote? All right, Denise?
Okay, so Matt,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Isa,
Abstain, I wasn't at the last meeting.
Robin,
Yes.
Dinah,
Yes.
Bisa,
Yes.
Lynn. Oh, yeah, I see your head shaking. You're muted, but I got that one. Dr. Walker,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
great, thank you, Cheryl, and Apollo.
Yes.
What do we have? 11, so 1 abstention, 10 ayes, so it carries.
All right, thank you. Our next agenda item number 4, is to discuss scheduling of future quarterly meetings. And this will be an item that we'll vote on. And I'm trying to go back to November. We really hadn't set up dates. We were just discussing, the fact that we weren't going to meet in December or January. So we can go forth with projected meetings. Denise, by any chance, did we have anything scheduled that's already pre-calendared, or is this from scratch as far as you know?
As far as I know, we were looking to keep the calendaring as best as possible, similar to what it was last year.
Okay.
In that case, the next meeting for this full oversight body would be April, I believe it's 10th. It would be actually, it can't be the 10th. It's going to be the first Monday or the first Thursday.
Yeah, and I will just add, clearly, this group has been meeting on Thursday afternoons, but we have some new members. And so with, respect to the new members, we just wanted to revisit the scheduling just in case that same day and time doesn't work for the new members. We want you all to be able to participate. And so if Thursdays from 2 to 5 every couple of months does not work, as well as as we go forward in the subcommittees, if Thursdays are not the best day, just wanting to give everyone an opportunity to recalibrate here, and looking for, I would say, proposals from you all, right? If you know that doesn't work and you would propose some other day or time, that would sort of start us off here in terms of discussing or potentially voting on other dates.
Sounds good. Any discussion or ideas on different dates? I know generally speaking around here, Fridays are horrible because no one's at work. And Mondays are typically days where you catch up. but Monday through Thursday for me does work, except for Tuesday afternoons.
This is Cheryl. I'm okay with Thursday. It's just that the time 2 to 5, honestly, falls right smack dab in the middle of my physical therapy. So if we could do 1 to 4 is better for me because I have to be at therapy at 4. Today I was lucky because I got to switch it to end at 2 o'clock. They just had an appointment for me so I could come in earlier. But I honestly usually have physical therapy at 3:45 until 5. So it's just hard. So I end up having to miss the last hour.
But an earlier start does work for you.
Yes, I can come in earlier because even with the committees, I end up having to miss like the last hour.
Okay, and I believe we were starting earlier at some point, and then we migrated to a later start. It might have been like a year ago, but I know it seemed like we had earlier starts.
We did.
Yeah.
We had an earlier start, and I remember we were thinking we wanted to get young people here. I remember that. Maybe I'm getting my meetings mixed up, but I think this is this.
Oh,
group.
for the school.
Right, and so we talked about.
Well, I'm
good with any Thursday, anytime in this kind of time range, like 1 to 4, whatever, 2 to 5, anything like that on Thursdays would be work for me.
Any other comments regarding maybe perhaps moving it back up to 1 where it was originally? Robin has a thumbs up. I haven't seen any youngsters join our group, so that concept never developed, I don't believe. So, it might be best for everyone to move it to 1 o'clock as a suggestion.
Works for me.
For me.
We're still maintaining quarterly, correct?
They are quarterly.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, that would be fine then. I mean, we've got several of us are on a standing noon Thursday meeting, which is calendared to 1:30, but we've only been going until 1, so that shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah. Hopefully this isn't meeting overload. I know I've noticed with Zoom, it seems like the meeting, it's like a meeting productions. They've increased the volume of meetings. But 1 o'clock was a good start. And then what when we were actually meeting in person, it coincided with lunch and gathering and little snacks, and it was a little more conventional, I guess, on the tail end of lunch. But hopefully we get back to that normal routine. Do we have other dates, Denise? So we have the first. We're sticking with.
Actually, I was incorrect, John. The next meeting would then be scheduled on a quarterly basis. That would be May 6th then, which is the first Thursday, 3 months from now, from 1 o'clock to 4 p.m.
Okay. Now, Chris, were you, for your purposes, are you trying to get your date scheduled now, or do you want to revisit the next meeting date in May? Like, to see what we're looking like, if we're open or not open, or do you need your dates?
That's a good question. So I would start by saying, I think I'm going to be as flexible and as adaptable as I can, right? So this is about you guys who were assigned to this body being able to show up. So I for my purposes, I think I can make it work for the most part, as long as I have some advance notice. But if this is a change that works for you guys, and I will just add, I think you will need a motion and a vote before you.
Yeah, no, we haven't got to the vote yet.
Right. But I think it could work either way for me. If this feels like something that you could lock in for the foreseeable future and folks want to, go in that direction, that's fine. If people think it should be an agenda item in May to talk about again, I'm fine with doing that as well.
Okay. Well, since this is discussion, does everyone want to know dates, discuss dates now, or you want to play it by ear? Schedule May and perhaps, look at some other possible dates then.
I think with trying to schedule this many people, I think it'd be beneficial to have this discussion again in May.
I was gonna say the opposite. I was gonna say if you can schedule them now, then we can all get the dates on our calendars and it'll be done.
I agree.
I totally agree. I totally agree. I like having because if you leave my calendar open, it's gone.
So let me then announce what the following, or the 3 dates will be moving forward through the rest of the year. So we have our May 6th from 1 to 4. The next quarterly meeting would be August 5th from 1 to 4, followed by the last quarterly meeting for the year, which would be November 4th from 1 to 4.
Yes, and I will just tell you that when you sent out the email a few weeks ago, you had those dates in the email, and I already blocked them on my calendar.
Perfect. You're on top of it, Cheryl. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I thought it was for. I thought that's why you sent it. I mean, maybe I was like wrong, but it's why I thought it was saying. So,
Sorry, did you say August 4th?
August 5th and November 4th.
Got it. Thank you.
So it looks like we have, for voting purposes, two items are back. An A and a B subsection is the changing of the time from 1 to 4, and then voting on the approval of May 6th, August 5th, and November 4th for the rest of the year.
so can I just make a motion now, or are we ready?
Yes.
Okay. So I move that we approve a meeting quarterly from 1 to 4 on the first Thursday of the quarter, of the first month of the second month of the first Thursday of the quarter. Is that right? Yeah, that's right.
Why don't you just say the dates?
I don't know that part.
May 6th, August
May
5th. and
6th. Yeah, what he said.
August 5th and November 4th.
Yes, what he said.
Do we have a second?
I second the motion.
Okay. Before we vote, is there any public comment regarding our schedule, proposed schedule?
And for clarity, that's 1 to 4 now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll take a roll call now, please. Matt Malone,
Yes.
John Loudon,
Yes.
Isa Immenkraus,
Yes.
Robin Lepetsky,
Yes.
Dinah Becton,
Yes.
Bisa French,
Yes.
Lynn Mackey,
Yes.
Dr. Walker,
Yes.
Jeff Landau,
Yes.
Michael Pearson,
Yes.
Cheryl Sudduth,
Yes.
Apollo Solsi,
Yes.
and Noe Guadino.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Our next agenda item number 5, is going to be a report out from our 3 subcommittees. Up first would be community engagement and funding. Prior to that, though, Chris, did you have, as far as your packet, anything to say in regards to before we have our report out?
Thank you. I think you must have read my digital body language. The only thing I wanted to say, and this is kind of redundant, is again, because we have maybe some new members and maybe some folks who are a little less used to this, if the subcommittee chairs could talk a little bit about what your subcommittee is and what it does, just give a little bit of background information in addition to any report about what's happened over the last quarter. Just to make sure that everybody kind of gets it, and keep in mind that folks are maybe going to be choosing which subcommittees they want to be on. So you want to kind of, give people a sense of what your subcommittee is all about.
Sure. So with that in mind, if it's my turn to jump in, Jeff Landau again with Community Engagement and Funding Subcommittee. So I hope I can entice those of you who are not yet in a subcommittee to join CEF, as we're calling it, Community Engagement Funding. And just general background on that. I mean, if you have the agenda packet in front of you, you'll have, I think it's attachment 2 is the work plan for our subcommittee. And that gives some background on what we've taken on and how we're framing it. And I can say that some of the kind of obvious component would be outreach, interfacing to our community at large for community engagement. And part of that is trying to share what we are doing, but also trying to have as active a role as possible, and learning from, trying to yield or seek information from community stakeholders so that we're informed by that, and we're not just kind of putting out what we're doing or have an intention, but trying to be as informed as much as possible from interested members of our community. And also trying to, through the funding component, initially in our work plan, and part of what we had taken on from the task force, the earlier version of this process, and now we're in the oversight phase, was a community capacity fund. And that's basically targeted spending, funding, investments in terms of resources to community-based organizations to better allow for capacity to do necessary work, and specifically related to justice reinvestment. That may look like diversion, but other forms too. In terms of that process, that's kind of the most obvious form of the funding component of what we're doing, but also looking at it in other ways too. The Community Capacity Fund is just one piece of that. So you have our work plan there, and I guess I'll just say, in addition to what you're seeing there, that since the time that we had our quarterly meeting, the subcommittee had a meeting. It was November, let's see if I have it just here in front of me. Yeah, November 12th. So it was just the week after we met in the quarterly. We had, I think, a really worthwhile presentation by Carol Burton of Jeweled Legacy Group. And she talked a little bit about the capacity program that she had been involved with in Alameda County, some of the information we could learn from that as a model, as a reference point in terms of what we might try to do here. And we were able to ask questions from that, shaped our discussion a little in that last meeting toward what might be a hybrid sort of model. And DA Becton, perhaps I'm just noting your perfect. That we're looking at this concept of a hybrid model that would have initially this a phase of more a larger number of applicants or grantees, and having sort of a cohort for those recipients, a smaller amount of funding going to a larger number of grantees at the outset to try to have a large reach. And then for those that have really demonstrated capacity and interest, and the ability to have greater investment, basically, so to speak, that there would be a smaller second phase pool of smaller number of grantees, but more funding coming to them and more intensive support. So that's kind of the shape of the conversation that it's taking, and we're having our next subcommittee meeting next week. So that's on that path. And final part I would say is that the Youth Advisory Council, I think you had learned, or we had brought this to the last quarterly meeting in terms of a project that we're working on, collaboration with the Juvenile Justice Coordinating Council. And we did have a planning meeting on December 14th, which was steps forward, hearing from youth in our community. We were able to have specifically, it was representatives from RISE, I'm pretty sure, that had come in and sharing their expertise, and then also Burns connected us. Just learning in what that process might look like. The various steps from youth that have taken leadership in processes like these in various forms. So that was December 14th, and I think the charge was that Juvenile Justice Coordinating Council and the Community Engagement Funding Subcommittee kind of go to our respective spaces, share what we have planned, and continue to move that process forward until the time that we actually have the implementation of a Youth Advisory Council. So this is continued progress in that that campaign also. And I think those are the points that I wanted to touch on. Of course, happy to answer any questions or receive suggestions from folks.
Doesn't look like we have any questions or comments.
I just have one question.
Sure.
All of our subcommittees were canceled last month or last 2 months. Do we know when they're going to be rescheduled?
I think the intention is to discuss that today, Cheryl.
Okay.
Yeah,
That
that's
was my
going to be
question.
item numbers, a part of item number 6.
Okay, that was my question because I wanted to go to this one with Jeff. So that was my question.
Okay.
Thank you.
I see no other hands raised, John.
Okay. So the next sub item is from the Data Subcommittee. Attachment number 3. Chris, you look like you're about to say something.
Yeah, just that we don't have a data subcommittee chair.
We don't. Deborah is, we had our last meeting, I think it was December 3rd with her, and she's no longer with us as a part of the subcommittee. So food for thought, that chair is vacant.
Do you want me to nominate somebody? I could nominate Becky Bachikis. I already asked her if she would take it. She said she would. Or do they do that in that group? Do they do it in their own group?
Oh, okay. So do we want to do that in item number 6 when we get to the voting part of
Oh,
it?
sorry. Jumped ahead.
That'll be, I mean, that's great. You know, that way we don't have to volunteer anybody. As far as the report out, and I can talk a little bit about what we did, and maybe Chris can capitalize on what the purpose is, if you can do that, of our subcommittee. But when we met, we obviously were looking at the future, which is 2021, and trying to identify someone who would want to be the subcommittee chair in lieu of Deborah stepping down. Looks like that item we don't have to worry about. It sounds like a nomination or a voluntold. I'm not sure, one or the other. And then we actually, at least for our subcommittee, we discussed the concept of having a secretary because we captured a lot of information, and what we find throughout our process is that we tend to forget in between our meetings what transpired. And so the subcommittee itself is looking at that process. And then we also went into a little bit of depth on the presentation from the data subcommittee to the Police Chiefs Association and what that would look like. And in our discussions, we thought that in addition to the original nominations or reorganizing the original nominations of personnel, was that there was a strong desire to see if Tamisha would want to be a part of the presentation. We felt her history with the group and her voice would be beneficial. And we were going to bring that to her attention as a possibility. But she doesn't look like she's here today. So that will be tabled for later. But we did have discussions on that and what that would look like. And then we provided some updates in regards to where we were with data. Essentially, the data subcommittee, which I sit on, we have data that will be presented to the overall body. And the idea is that this data that I have from the sheriff's office, at least, we'll roll it out at the same time as the presentation for the Police Chiefs Association. So the sheriff and other agencies that are associated with the sheriff, our contract city chiefs, will already have this data. And so the sheriff wanted to be able to present it all at once. So it'll be so there's only one presentation that needs to be made versus several. And so the sheriff's concept is like, hey, when your presentation's made, he'll be able to speak on behalf of what data we're releasing, how it's affected our organization, if it has, and then endorse the concept of what we're putting out or releasing that affects all of the agencies within the county. So it'll just be one meeting, one presentation, and then if there's any questions from the chiefs or other members or who are present for that meeting, we as the Office of the Sheriff can address what we've released or what we're going to release in that format. So outside of that, that's a general synopsis of what we discussed back on December 3rd. The hanging Chad is obviously replacing Deborah Mason. Chris?
Yeah, I would just add a couple of things. So first of all, really good memory, John. It was a whole lot from quite a while ago now, seems like. So great memory on your part. Something that you sparked my memory on, right? When you talked about the secretary, I think one of the members actually volunteered someone on her staff to take notes. So I think we may even have the secretary covered in the data.
Actually, Chris, that was Becky who
I thought so.
Volunteered her staff.
Yeah, that is correct.
It's good connection.
So there was that. I think overall, I should say it's just probably relatively obvious to most, but the data subcommittee, its charge essentially is to help us to secure, collect, and analyze data from the various agencies that we're going to need to help inform the decisions or the policy and practice changes that this group is charged with making, right? So we don't want to make decisions based on conjecture or innuendo or assumption. We want to have some information, particularly information that these agencies trust because it's coming from them, and use that information to say, hey, here are our recommendations based on what we see or what trends exist in the data, right? And so that's the data subcommittee's charge. One of the things that the data subcommittee has also been working on, something that it will be able to actively sort of move forward with as more data comes in, is a decision points matrix, which allows us to examine at each decision point, where disparities are, where they are sort of concentrated, or where they increase versus decreasing, to give us some sense of where we might want to focus efforts or prioritize. And the other thing that the data subcommittee has been discussing recently that I'm quite fond of is trying to create some means by which to acknowledge the agencies that are currently participating in collecting and sharing data with us, in hopes to not only acknowledge those organizations, but encourage other people to do the same, so that we can sort of get the show on the road, so to speak, in terms of getting the information in so that we can do the work that this committee, or I should say this body at large, is charged with. And I think that covers it.
Thank you, Chris. Were there any questions or comments about or for the data subcommittee members?
I apologize if you'd already brought it up, but just, is there a date that's scheduled for the presentation that is planned? I know you were mentioning the possibility of Tamisha being one of the different members that would be there, but is there a date that's
No.
consideration?
Yes,
pretty-
actually there is.
Oh, okay.
I had the chair of the Chiefs Association schedule it for March 24th
Perfect. Okay.
at 10:30.
Thank you.
How would we be able to get an invite to that meeting? The March 24th at 10:30. Is it open to the public?
No, it's not open to the public.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions for the data subcommittee report out? I don't see any. All right, let's move on to Chief French, diversion subcommittee.
Good afternoon again, everyone. So just a little bit of overview for the diversion subcommittee. Our goal is to improve racial and ethnic equity in Contra Costa County youth and adult justice systems by developing more diversion opportunities and monitoring race and ethnicity data for all current and future diversion programs. So over the last few meetings, our committee has been focused on a couple of different things. The definition of diversion, which we're going to discuss later in the agenda, so I won't go over that. And then we developed a list of all the diversion programs that we are aware of in the county. And then we contacted those programs to compile data. And what we were looking for was the cost of the diversion programs, what success looks like, who enrolled, who completed the program successfully, and if somebody didn't complete it successfully, what was the reason? Let's see. We also asked for disaggregated data, so looking at, male, female, race and stuff like that. So we didn't receive a lot of feedback from a lot of the programs on the list, but we did receive some information, and mainly it was from the programs that those of us are on the committee are involved in. So we're looking through, our next steps are looking through the data and looking at the different components of each program and really identifying the disparities and start looking at what our recommendations are going to be for a comprehensive diversion program that is in line with the objectives and standards that you will see in our diversion definition later in the meeting. So I know mine is a lot shorter and concise, and maybe my memory is not as great as John's, but that's what I remember of our meetings.
That was really good. The only thing I would add to that is we also talked about inviting representatives from those programs to the meetings to talk us through some of the information that maybe didn't come through in whatever they sent, so that we can get some direct information and feedback from those groups to inform whatever recommendations we may come up with. So.
Thank you, Lisa and Chris. Are there any questions or comments of the diversion or about the diversion subcommittee at all? Does not look like we have any. At this time, is there any public comment regarding agenda item number 5, our report out? Okay, having none, we'll move on to item number 6, discussing the changes to subcommittee membership. We've already had pre-conversations, but we'll go ahead and have additional conversations regarding the subcommittees. I think we were going back to, last year, we were going to discuss committee chairs and primarily if people wanted to try different subcommittees altogether, I believe is what we were leaning toward in opening this up for discussion. Does that sound right, Chris?
That sounds right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's discuss. We have what we do know is there is we have a new, or we will after we vote on it have a chair for the data subcommittee, but I know Jim was a part of that our group. We lost him. I'm not sure if Matt's gonna by default want to remain on the data subcommittee, but this is a time for discussion in regards to if we want to move around. Now, having said that, I know it looks, based upon the fact that we're not on two screens today, or that we're a little light on attendance. So I'm not sure if we want to move forward with moving around today, or if this is something that we want to try to, wait to where there's, more members present. But either way, we can discuss it.
We have only 5 members who are not here today, John.
Oh, okay. All right. It looks like it looks like it's all members today, online.
Denise, are there any members who are not present who don't currently have a subcommittee assignment?
Who are not, okay, let me see here. Yes, Renelle Ellis.
Okay.
And well, we have LaShante Smith from West Contra USD, but I wasn't sure if she was going to automatically roll into the data subcommittee.
Gotcha.
To fill Deborah's place, and I guess that is still unknown moving forward here. So
I had Ronell Ellis on the funding committee.
Okay, great.
That was vacant for a seat, and he stepped in later towards the end of that term, and I had it indicated here, noted here that he was on that.
Great, thank you. I have an old copy of the membership, so thanks for that update, Nicole.
Was there anyone here that wanted to switch subcommittees? We may have people who are content doing the work that they're doing. Doesn't look like anyone is interested from what I see. Cheryl looks pretty happy doing what she's doing.
Hey, this is Noe Godino.
Go to all of them, so I'm happy.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi, I was trying to figure out if I actually was placed into a subcommittee or if I could choose or whatever, sir.
Yes, you're a new member, and we, Nicole, unless you have a placement already for Noe, we could place him today.
No, I'm sorry, I did forget to mention that I didn't have anything for him.
Okay.
I heard about data. I definitely didn't want to do that one. So what were the other options again?
Have you considered community engagement and funding?
I do that already for work, so I think I want to pick another one.
All right.
Join us in diversion.
I like that. I like diversion.
Welcome to diversion.
Wait, hold on. Is that the most populated one? I think I want to help out the numbers.
Well, okay. So why don't I go through each of the committees and who we have right now? So
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure. The data committee, I would have Deborah Mason or her chair, or her alternate, Shayla Bonner, John Loudon, Becky Vashikis, Bill Walker, and Matt Malone. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6 members. currently. Community engagement and funding, we have Jeff Landau as Lynn Mackey, or your proxy, Terry Cohn, Stephanie Medley, and Renelle Ellis. So that is 4 members right now. And then diversion, I have Bisa French, Dinah Beckton, Robin Lepetsky, Stephanie Medley, Isa Eamon Kraus, Cheryl Suddeth, and Tamisha Walker. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the committee that is the most shorthanded is Jeff's committee, the Community Engagement and Funding Subcommittee, which has 4 members compared to the 6 members in the Data Subcommittee and the 7 members in Diversion.
No, we need
Denise, I'll join I'm sorry,
I'll
Jeff.
take it.
Noe, you'll take Community Engagement?
Yes.
And I'll join
I'll
that
also
one
take-
also, Denise.
Okay, thanks, Isa.
Excellent.
Because
This is
Melvin
Mike
usually
Pearson.
comes on my behalf to the diversion one, so I can make my schedule work for the community engagement one.
Oh,
Great.
that's brilliant. Thank you.
Really good overlap with JJCC.
Okay, I was gonna also join that one, but it looks like everyone jumped into that, so wherever I'm needed.
The more the merrier.
So, Michael, you get your choice because right now each committee has 6 members. So, what's your first pick?
I would say diversion or community engagement, either one of those.
Noe's wishing he waited.
Actually, I just figured out, did we actually, was the times stated for each committee, or should I just look that up online?
The times for the meetings, Noe?
Yeah, it's for the subcommittees.
Right, we have standard times from last year, and I believe we will be discussing those shortly.
Thank you.
Oh, actually, on the agenda, we speak about membership, but I don't know that we discuss when those next meetings will take place.
I can at least say for the community engagement funding, we've been meeting the second Thursday of each month from 3 to 5 is what has been the standing.
Yeah, and that can also change. We probably, for the community engagement and funding, because we needed to get the agenda done for next week, that meeting is going to go forward the way that it normally would, but we will be discussing during that meeting whether or not that subcommittee should change its date or time. And we can do that for all of the subcommittees, particularly this first month, just have an agenda item to discuss that. The only thing about that I'm thinking of now is if you can't make that meeting, you can't quite be heard to say that you can't make it. So that I think,
Well, because that would be my only conflict is I'm on the Chief Probation Officers of California. I sit on their legislative subcommittee and we meet every Thursday from 3 to 4 during ledge cycle. So, I mean, from like November until July, we meet every Thursday. So, and August really. So that's my only conflict is that 3 to 4 is a terrible time for me on Thursdays.
How about 1 to 3? I'm just thinking Cheryl's
That I could do.
Talking about 1 to 3.
I could, yeah, see, look
Still
at that.
I'm kind of floating that as still.
That I could do. Teamwork, Cheryl, teamwork.
See that message from Lynn. So maybe that'll be a tentative for us for CEF, unless there's anybody on this call who would be otherwise interested in, but can't make that time.
Sorry,
Okay.
the acronym's going a little above me. Is the one I'm committed to CFF or just? Sorry.
I think you were with us with community engagement. So yeah, we're saying community engagement funding CEF, and that would be the second Thursday of the month from 1 to 3. Would that work for you, Noe?
Except for next week. Next
Right.
week, we're already calendared for from 3 to 5, but the following months would be from 1 to 3.
Oh,
to already say ahead of time, my birthday is next Thursday, I think, which is I'm thinking that time. So I'm gonna have to rain check on that one. I apologize. But 2 weeks from that day will be the 25th, and I definitely can make that. And that will be well, my bad. Fill out the words. What was that again? Sorry.
So yeah, our next our next CEF meeting then would be March 11th.
Oh,
And
okay.
that time it would be from 1 to 3 because we're going to do them monthly.
Yeah, that worked. That worked with me.
Respect taking your birthday. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I usually will overlook it. I mean, I'm a Jehovah's Witness, but I think this year I might want to do something different.
All right, so we'll tentatively then, I guess we can confirm it perhaps at our next CEF meeting, but we're planning then for 1 to 3 second Thursdays.
There you go. And since we've done that, I might, I'm a little scared to say I might invite conversations like that, at least discussion as far as that, if it needs to change with other subcommittees to be confirmed in the actual subcommittee meeting. We don't have a voting item on the agenda, so we can't, necessarily vote on subcommittee changes, subcommittee meeting date and time changes now, but in the subcommittee meetings, they can be changed if they need to. So
right now we're voting, or vote when we're done with this item is just on the membership changes.
Yes, that's correct.
And Denise, I saw you scribbling. Did you capture those changes? I was trying to, but I did get lost a little bit with the names.
With the names of the membership for each committee?
Yeah.
Yes, I have that.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. But I think what's important for new members to know too is, in addition to the CEF that's scheduled for the second Thursday, the data committee and the diversion committees are also pre-planned or pre-scheduled from last year for the 3rd and 4th Thursdays of each month, respectively, from 3 to 5. And then I would assume, given this conversation, that in each of those meetings, changes could take place with regard to other, a new schedule moving forward.
That's correct.
Does that make sense for everyone?
Yeah.
I'm particularly concerned about new members who.
Yeah, new members, what we typically do is, we had conversations on how often we would be meeting. And it turned out that I think we met more often than initially was, the idea, just so we can get work done. But all of those conversations are, fairly flexible and within the subcommittees themselves.
Right. And Apollo has his hand raised.
Oh.
Yep, I wasn't sure if we were taking signups now because a bunch of people jumped in, but for what it's worth, I would like to join the community engagement and funding subcommittee as well.
Great, thank you, Apollo.
We'll be glad to have you with us.
Likewise.
Is there anybody else who is not assigned a committee as far as they know? Okay, thank you, Apollo. I'm sorry, I must have missed you. My apologies.
You're good, no worries.
And what is our equity and balance? It looks okay.
We are looking at 7 now for the CEF, 7 now for diversion, and 6 for data.
Okay. CEF went from 4 to 7. It's nice. Jeff did some reporting.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh no, we're almost. It's at 8. Excuse me. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I might be able to appoint the new director of the ORJ to sit on the data subcommittee once we get that person hired. They can sit on my behalf in that subcommittee. I think that would be a really good fit.
Perfect. Thank you.
That person's not hired yet, though. So more to come.
They don't even know yet.
And John, I will.
That's what happens. They're going to get voluntold on their way in the door.
What was that, Denise?
I said, and I will continue to be there. So until we get our new director. So.
All right, sounds good. So do we have any other comments or questions with the membership or any public comment before we take this to vote? And what we'll be voting on will be the changes that we discussed as far as members and membership, not necessarily hours and locations. I don't see any hands raised from either members or the public. So is there a nomination from the group to accept the proposed changes of members into the data, community engagement, and diversion subcommittees?
Make that motion.
Second.
Thank you. Matt, that was your second, is that correct?
Jeff made the motion and Matt made the second.
Got it. Thank you. And a roll call. Matt?
Yes.
John Loudon?
Yes.
Isa? Isa, your vote, please. I'm sorry.
Yes. Sorry,
Great.
yes, I moved my space bar wouldn't unmute me. Yes.
Oh, thank you. Robin?
Yes.
Dinah?
Yes.
Visa?
Yes.
Lynn? Lynn, oh, she had to step away.
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you, you're back. Terrific. Dr. Walker?
Yes.
Jeff Landau?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
Apollo?
Yes.
And Noe?
Yes.
Great. Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thanks everybody for that one. Our next agenda item. Chief French mentioned this. I assume this is her section. Approve the diversion subcommittee's definition of diversion and guidelines.
Hello again, everyone. So this is attachment 5 in the package, and it gives you a definition of diversion. I don't know if you guys want me to read that or if you want to read it on your own. Take a few minutes to read it. Anybody not have the packet in front of them that needs me to read it out loud? Good. In addition to the definition, we included objectives and standards because we wanted it to be very clear. So there's 8 different objectives and standards that we feel should be included in a diversion program. So again, I won't read all of these, they're all in your packet. We spent actually a few meetings discussing what this definition should be and making lots of changes to it. So it actually took us longer than we anticipated, but we wanted it to be thorough. And we talked a lot about not making any diversion programs that would unnecessarily capture, additional people to put into diversion that normally we wouldn't, put into a program. So we want to be very specific about who should go into diversion programs. So that's why we had, the 8 different objectives and standards. So today we wanted to present it to you all so that we can get the final vote to approve the definition and objectives and standards for the diversion.
I'll just add, if I may. So I think I mentioned this at the last quarterly meeting. I'm one of the people who sent this back. We were almost done, and I sent it back to make sure that the language was specific, like Chief just said, about not net widening, right, or not unnecessarily putting a person in a program, right, in the event that, you know, a kid takes a pack of gum from a store, like that kid probably does not need to be put into a diversion program for several weeks for that, right? And so just making sure that we spelled that out. The goal with this is to give it force in the county in terms of how diversion is used, you know, how it's assigned or referred, and how the programs are created, right? So we want this to live in the county in a way that is influential. You know, it'll be going up from this group, if you all approve it, you know, to the county level to try to build that out and try to give it some level of force and influence in terms of how diversion is actually handed down or assigned or referred going forward. I don't know exactly what that could look like or what that could mean, but that's the goal, is for the various different agencies that touch it or that refer to it to use it and to sort of govern themselves accordingly.
So I guess with that, if there aren't any questions, or if there are questions, we'll take questions. If not, we'll entertain a motion to approve our definition and objectives and standards.
Do we have any questions or, oh, Jeff?
Thanks. Yeah, it's great as I'm looking at it, and I think the thoughtfulness and taking the time to work out the definition is really worthwhile. So I'm appreciative of the effort, and I guess I just have maybe questions. I'm not really proposing a change. So there were a couple points that I just wanted to ask on. Initially, hyper-technical lawyer, right? That looking at that first paragraph, the second line from the bottom saying, or other data-driven or innovative methods. I'm wondering if as its phrase is saying, well, some things that aren't data-driven would be okay. Again, it's kind of asking, putting that in front of the group to say, was there discussion on this concept of like, well, we don't want something to be shut out if it really seems like it's a good idea and there hasn't been a chance to do the data analysis of it. So that was one question I had. And then I was going to ask on number 2, using incentives, and was there kind of discussion of like, should we expand on what that's meaning, or just what specifically was in mind with that? Because I can imagine someone might respond and say, well, the whole idea is an incentive, you're not getting prosecuted, but maybe there was something more specific with that idea, that rather than getting terminated early, which I definitely appreciate that the concept of that being the last resort, but if there was something more specific with incentives that was in mind. And okay, and the last thing that I had was number 4. This is an actual proposed change. Is there a way that we could have the language saying that payment from a person who's to be diverted shall not be a component, like as an objective or a standard, that there needs to be funding for programs and there need to be real requirements for persons. But I guess I'd just say that my sense has been over time with programs related to diversion that the skin in the game concept of, well, you have something more in this because you paid for it, I think the harms out of that outweigh the benefits in general, that it sometimes can be, despite the setup of a program, to say that, you know, this can't be a barrier financial, it ends up being for certain people. And that may be more than what we can take on in this definition, but I guess I'm proposing that as a component or a change, that it would be for diversion programs, that there wouldn't be a payment component for participants. And I'll stop talking. Those are my 3 things.
So for the last point, I thought we did include it under number 4. A person's ability to pay should have no effect on their ability to access services. Is that what you're referring to?
It is, and I guess I would be concerned that a person would say, well, there's an ability to pay component here, and you're free to avail yourselves of that. But often in practice, persons don't have the savvy to know that system. There's language access. There's a lot of different reasons why I think, it shouldn't have any effect on, and it's different than saying no one shall be required to pay, because, if there is a properly functioning way to determine someone's ability to pay, then it shouldn't be that, then it won't be a bar. I don't know. I was reading it as not definitively saying that there wouldn't be a payment requirement, but maybe I was misreading it.
So I know there's several other committee members I'll let you guys jump into.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, Jeff, you wanted to say not only an inability to pay, but no pay requirements. You wanted to explicitly say no pay requirements, correct?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, this is coming from my days in different programs of, misdemeanor calendar of that it's baked into a program saying that a person cannot be, they can't fail the program for their inability to pay. But I saw that a lot of persons in that situation. So yes, that's what I'm meaning, is I think it's more than a technical.
No, I hear you. And I'm actually agreeing with you. I'm just thinking how to say it here. No, I hear you. I think we toiled over this one, did we not? So I'm gonna go back on mute so I can ruminate a little bit more. Ruminate's good with my formula in the back of my head, mute. Guess what we do as scientists? We ruminate.
So I'll jump in on this one. I think that the idea behind all of the objectives and standards was to give preference and guidance, as opposed to say, we're not in a position to mandate what any particular program will or won't do, but it was more of a collective policy position that nobody should be required to pay for services if they don't have the ability to pay. So I guess the line, Jeff, maybe you're drawing is, well, what if, even if people do have the ability to pay, we don't think as a matter of principle that they should be required to pay, that these services should be provided free of cost to anybody who qualifies. And I don't know that we actually had that discussion in our group. I don't remember actually having that discussion. I think the idea was more to say, we want to be very clear that anybody has access to these programs regardless of their economic status. So I recognize there's a distinction there between what you're proposing and what is written in number 4. So I don't know what other members think about that. I think the way number 4 is laid out, it makes our position clear, without saying absolutely no program should charge anybody, but maybe that is what we want to say.
So as I'm ruminating, I hear you too, Miss Robin. What I did, what Jeff is saying, is he wants us to be even more bolder and just say that our position is we do not want people to pay, regardless of what the system is asking for. And Sir Jeff, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but these were my ears here. So tell me if my ears are lying to me. But I hear you saying you want us to be bold and say, sorry, I got to get back to that screen, that perhaps it should say no person should be required to pay
nor should a person's ability to pay have an effect on their ability to access services or participation in diversion programs.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think you are, you're catching the gist of what I'm saying. And I recognize also, Robin, what you were bringing out, that it can't be directive to persons, if this isn't the ability to set up what it will be, but in terms of it being aspirational. And I know that, right, any system is going to be imperfect, and the change might result in some people who do have means not paying when they could. And I know that even the best written of programs that allows for a carve out will have some persons who can't afford to pay being cut out, even though that wasn't the intention. And I think if we do have this bigger ask or more clear-cut aspirational model, then you'd really make sure that no one would get cut out for inability to pay, because it just couldn't be a component of the program.
Any more feedback or comment?
Well, I think not charging, I mean, it's really in alignment with what our legislation is going towards anyway, with the elimination of fees for juvenile first and now the elimination of fees for adults. So I think, you know, really declaring that we would ideally not be charging participants for diversion services, or an inability to pay should not prevent them from participating, I think isn't necessarily lofty. It isn't really necessarily a goal. I think it's in alignment with the way that our legislative trends have been the last few years.
So Jeff, do you have language to propose?
Yes, let me just articulate that. I would say a person should not be required to make payment in order to access services or participate in diversion programs. So I'm trying to just keep the second half of it without changing any of that letter language. So I'd say a person should not be required to make payment in order to access services or participate in diversion programs. I hope that was consistent the 2 times I said it. So I would make a motion to have that amendment to number 4.
Jeff?
Yes.
Not to nitpick, but I'm going to nitpick. I think that what you just articulated is not necessarily more clear than what's already there. If you want to actually bar any fees from being collected, I think it should just say diversion programs should not charge fees, period. Or should not charge fees for their services.
I like that. Let's have it clear. I mean, the main thing is that the point comes across as it should. So I agree. That language that you just said, right? Diversion program should not charge for its services.
Or for participation.
Yes. As simple as possible to get the point across. So I think that does a better job of it. So I would make that modified amendment.
Way to defer to your boss, Jeff. That was
right.
Yeah. Good form.
Amen.
So, I'm sorry. I was just going to ask a question from like the subcommittee. Have you all got into the weeds on like which type of program or what a program looks like? Because I imagine that some programs are free and they might be, you know, government ran. And then there's probably some private programs that are, you know, proven successful that may have a cost. But have you all discussed that yet? And I'm just asking because I just think you might paint yourself into a corner as far as options go once you establish that this is, you know, the parameter.
So we did try to collect a lot of that data. We didn't get it from all the programs that we had listed, but many of them don't charge already. I see where you're going in terms of limiting our options, but what we found in looking at the data is a lot of, the people that are on the subcommittee, like myself, Robin, and the DA Becton, and probation, a lot of the referrals come out of these different agencies. So the reach to the other organizations, I don't think that would be necessarily a deterrent.
And again, I would just say that these are sort of, as Jeff said, aspirational. These are sort of policy approaches that we would like to see. We're not in a position to tell any particular program what they can and can't do. It's more of what we would ideally like to see in a program.
Got it. Is there any more feedback on the just proposed language change before we vote? Any public comment in regards to this agenda item?
I just have one comment. I just want to tell you that this group did a great job on this. This was a lot of work. It was a lot of work, and it was a lot of research, and it was a lot of information gathering, and it was a lot of cooperation and collaboration and coordination. It's my favorite 5 words. And communication and compromise is the 5th C. And thank you, Ms. Bisa, Ms. Dinah, and Ms. Robin, and Ms. Isa. And if you've never seen them work together, worked really well together and getting the information out. I think Ms. Lynn was here sometimes. Yeah, if none of you know the definition of the word equanimity, equanimus, you should learn it. It's keeping calm and keeping a really good composure, even when you don't agree on some terms. It's a work in action. You should come to this committee and sit and observe. That's it.
Thank you for that feedback. All right, looks like there's no further comments from the membership or the public. So we're ready for a roll call vote. It sounds like with Denise, you actually captured the phrase that
I did capture the phrase,
okay.
but
So I
I'm
guess,
looking for somebody to put the motion forward and second it. And I'm happy to repeat the phrase.
yeah, could you repeat the phrase?
Yes,
Before,
absolutely.
I move, and let me just say it before, I move that we accept this diversion definition with the amended number 4, objective and standard that Ms. Denise will now read.
Diversion programs should not charge for services or participation. Pretty
I will
straightforward.
second the motion.
Thank you. Okay, roll call. Matt Malone, please.
Yes.
John Loudon,
Yes.
Isa Amon Kraus,
Yes.
Robin Lupetsky, Dinah Becton,
Yeah.
Bisa French,
Yes.
Lynn Mackey,
Yes.
Dr. Walker, did we lose Dr. Walker? Okay. Jeff Landau. Was that a yes?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't hear it, but that's okay. Thank you. Michael Pearson. Michael, you're muted still. Okay, we'll come back to you. Cheryl
I'm
Sutter?
sorry. I'm having trouble going off mute. Yes.
No worries. Thank you. Cheryl?
Yes, ma'am.
Apollo?
Yes.
And Noe?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Dr. Walker, have you returned? Okay. The vote's unanimous, aside from Dr. Walker's.
Motion that, who was the second motion?
That would have been Robin Lepetsky. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you. Our next agenda item number 8, discuss the request for data from the Police Chiefs Association. And this will be a voting item. And this is where my memory probably doesn't serve me the best. I know there was a lot of talk in regards to what we were going to present. I don't remember why we were voting on this. Chris, do you remember why this was going to be a voting item?
Yeah, so I put it back as a voting item. I think the substance of it we voted on last time, as shows in the record of actions, but as was alluded to, I think you alluded to earlier, John, we had talked about maybe having Tamisha, join the group, but not only that, the original group, if I'm not mistaken, included Dante, who is now no longer with. So we voted to have sort of a convoy. I think maybe a few too many people, right, presenting, probably like a group that rounded out to maybe about 5 or more perhaps. And I think since Dante is not going to be able to be involved in the same way, I just it seems like we may need to revisit how many folks and who are the people who are gonna actually present.
Okay, yeah, how many and who? So this is going to be the data proposition to the Police Chiefs Association that is already scheduled, and I forgot the actual names of the people who are going to participate, but we need to rethink if we're going to go in there with perhaps a smaller crowd than originally planned, as Chris mentioned. So I know Bisa sits on that association, so she'll be an audience, participant with the ability to provide feedback or answer questions on this body. So the question would be, as far as resetting, do we have anyone from this body that would like to make the presentation? I believe we were looking at keeping it ideally down to like maybe 2 to 3 people, 2 from the body, if I remember, and then we wanted Chris to participate from the perspective of what the Burns Institute is doing and the work they're and guidance they're providing for this body, and to address any overarching questions that might come up from that body, from the association.
Volunteered for last meeting.
I'm sorry?
Is this, yeah, Stephanie, she just said it. Is this the one I volunteered for last meeting? I can't remember.
Yeah, we volunteered you.
You kind of voluntold.
Yeah.
No,
yeah,
we
I think
absolutely
somebody
volunteered you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Tamisha volunteered me. I can't remember. Okay. All right.
Okay, so we have Cheryl, and you're
There we
still
go.
interested.
Yes, I just don't know what it is.
I might make a suggestion that if at all possible, the second member from the body be from probation, because probation is already sharing data with us, and so can speak to, hey, this is what we do, this is what it is, nobody's come for our heads, it's not scary, it's okay. So if they were willing to do that, I think that could be really
And I already attend that meeting, so that's fine. I can do that.
Great.
So it sounds like we have Cheryl, Isa, and Chris. Is that correct?
If folks are, willing to sign off on that.
Is there any comments on the size of that group presenting? And like I said, I know for my purposes, I've already produced example templates, of what it looks like. The sheriff has it in his hands, and he'll report out on, what Chris mentioned. We're not, nothing's changed with the release of it. I just know that he wants to be able to publicly let the other agencies within the county know that we're releasing it, the sheriff's office, because they're listed as well, obviously. So he just one fell swoop on that. Any other comments or questions?
John, would you mind sending the template
to you?
Sure. Because I'm going to want to huddle the three of us to kind of get on the same page about how to go about the presentation.
Sure.
Sometime between now and March 24th. So
yeah, I'll send you the latest one. I get them every month, and they're automatically fed. I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
All right, any feedback, questions, or comments from members of this body?
Appreciate you being our delegation.
Any feedback, questions, or comments from members of the public before we go to nominations? Okay, there's none. So at this point, we'll accept any nominations for the request for data from the Police Chiefs Association. And the nomination will be to accept the three aforementioned names to make a presentation to the Police Chiefs Association on, is that March 16th?
24th.
March 24th, okay.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Jeff.
I'll second.
Thank you, Matt. Okay. The roll call. Matt?
Yes.
Thank you. John?
Yes.
Isa?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Thank you. Dinah?
Yes.
Thank you. Bisa?
Yes.
Thanks. Lynn?
Yes.
Dr. Walker?
Yes.
Thank you. Jeff?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Cheryl? Cheryl, you're muted, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Apollo
Yes.
and Noe.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. So we're down to our last item. Any other questions before we adjourn? Comments?
I have a comment. I just turned down my printer, so it's gonna make noise. So 1 second, sorry.
Okay.
It's about to stop. Bad timing. Okay. Stop. Here's my comment is I wanted to shout out to Chris that he did a great job presenting about this body in his summary to the board and made us sound really productive and really great. And I just wanted to thank him for that because I was impressed with how impressive he made us sound. Thank you, Chris.
Okay, thank you for saying that. Let me be clear to anyone who wasn't there. I did not lie on you. All right, I told the truth about it. And to that end, I'll say something I think you guys have heard me say. So this work goes a little bit slower, or maybe a lot slower than we would like it to go. That is part and parcel of the work. Unfortunately, structural racism predates everybody on this call, right? No matter how old you are, it predates us. It's bigger than us. It's going to take a long time to dismantle it, right? So that work, unfortunately, takes longer than we would want. We don't have to make it take any longer than it does, right? But or we don't have to slow it down on our end when we can't. But it does take a long time, and it takes commitment and dedication. And you guys have shown that. And so, I think we're moving in the right direction. And as we get more participation from agencies and getting their data, and as we begin to make more recommendations, I hope that you all will see that, and we'll see the fruits of that labor. So hang in there. It takes longer than we want, but we're going in the right direction, and I think we're going to see some positive outcomes.
Sounds good. I'd like to tell the group I've had a good run for the last 4 years with the charter members, the Racial Justice Task Force, and the body. I'm actually retiring at the end of this month after 26 years. I'll be taking a job with POST, which is the Commission on Peace Officer Standards and Training. That's more research and development of the standards for the 90,000 plus law enforcement officers and dispatchers. So I'll still be a part of the process, but at the beginning. So I hope to be effective there and be a part of the sweeping changes that are affecting law enforcement. So I wanted to thank you all, your friendship, and the meaning of our body. It's been great.
Thank you, John.
Thank you for your leadership in the process.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you. And who am I supposed to call when I need my contract back?
I'll be capably replaced.
At work.
Thank you.
So much. Change is hard.
All right. Well, looks like we're adjourned until the next one. For those who are still on the body, good luck. Good luck, and God bless with all you do.
Everybody
Thank
stay
you,
safe.
John.
All right. We'll see you.
Yeah.
Thank you, John.
John, for everything.